Atlantis begins not as a place on a map, but as an idea carried forward through time, first spoken aloud in the ancient world, and preserved through memory, philosophy, and imagination. According to the writings attributed to Plato, Atlantis was a powerful and advanced civilization that existed long before recorded history, situated beyond the known world, somewhere past the Pillars of Heracles. In this distant age, when the boundary between myth and memory was still fluid, Atlantis was said to be a land blessed by the gods, rich in resources, fertile plains, and a people who lived in harmony with both nature and divine order. The island itself is described as a marvel of engineering and natural beauty, arranged in concentric rings of land and water that surrounded a sacred central hill. Canals connected the city to the sea, allowing ships to travel inward toward the heart of the civilization, while bridges and causeways unified the city into a single living organism. The Atlanteans were portrayed as a people of remarkable skill, mastering architecture, agriculture, metallurgy, and navigation. They built vast temples adorned with precious metals, raised walls of stone that glimmered in the sun, and cultivated fields that yielded abundance year after year. Their society was structured, ordered, and prosperous, guided by laws that had been given by the god Poseidon himself, who was believed to be the island's divine patron. In its earliest days, Atlantis was not corrupt or cruel. Its people were described as virtuous, disciplined, and balanced, possessing both material wealth and moral clarity. They respected the natural world and understood the limits placed upon them by divine law. Yet as generations passed, prosperity bred ambition, and ambition slowly eroded restraint. The Atlanteans expanded their influence across the seas, establishing control over distant lands and peoples. Their power grew vast, their fleets unmatched, and their confidence unshakable. What had once been harmony became dominance, and what had once been wisdom became pride. According to the ancient account, this shift marked the beginning of Atlantis' decline. The gods, observing the moral decay of the Atlanteans, resolved to restore balance. In a single catastrophic day and night, the island was struck by earthquakes and floods of unimaginable force. The land fractured, the sea swallowed the city, and Atlantis vanished beneath the waves, leaving behind only memory and warning. Whether Atlantis was intended as historical truth, allegory, or philosophical lesson remains debated, but its story endured because it speaks to a universal human tension between progress and humility. The tale of Atlantis became a mirror through which later civilizations examined their own rise and fall, seeing in its destruction a reflection of their fears and aspirations. As centuries passed, the name Atlantis echoed through Greek thought, Roman writings, medieval speculation, and Renaissance imagination, each era reshaping the legend to fit its own understanding of the world. As the ancient world gave way to new eras of thought, Atlantis transformed from a philosophical narrative into a subject of fascination, speculation, and longing. Scholars, explorers, and dreamers searched for clues hidden within Plato's descriptions, attempting to reconcile myth with geography and memory. Some believed Atlantis had been a real island swallowed by the Atlantic Ocean, while others placed it in the Mediterranean, the Caribbean, or even beneath polar ice. Each theory reflected not only the evidence available at the time, but the desires of those who sought it. Atlantis came to represent the hope that humanity had once achieved a golden age of knowledge and harmony, only to lose it through arrogance or catastrophe. During the Renaissance, when ancient texts were rediscovered and human potential was celebrated, Atlantis was reimagined as a symbol of lost wisdom waiting to be reclaimed. Philosophers and writers use a legend as a framework to explore ideal societies, technological advancement, and moral responsibility. In the modern era, as science and archaeology advanced, Atlantis found new life at the intersection of fact and fantasy. Some sought geological explanations, linking the story to real natural disasters, such as volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and floods that devastated ancient cultures. Others embraced more speculative interpretations, envisioning Atlantis as a technologically advanced civilization far ahead of its time, possessing knowledge of energy, astronomy, and engineering that was lost to history. These ideas flourished particularly in times of rapid change, when humanity grappled with the consequences of its own technological power. Atlantis became a cautionary tale once more, warning that advancement without wisdom leads inevitably to collapse. Popular culture embraced the imagery of the lost city beneath the sea, depicting gleaming towers, crystal halls, and forgotten machines resting silently in the depths. Each retelling added layers to the myth, transforming Atlantis into a shared cultural dreamscape rather than a single defined place. The ocean itself became a symbol of memory and forgetting, concealing truths while preserving them beyond reach. In this sense, Atlantis exists not in any specific location. The persistence of the Atlantis myth reveals a deep-rooted human desire to believe that greatness once existed in purer form, and that its loss was not inevitable, but the result of choices made. Whether viewed as history, allegory, or fantasy, Atlantis endures because it offers both wonder and warning, inviting reflection rather than certainty. As explorers mapped the globe and science explained the natural world, Atlantis did not disappear. Instead, it adapted, shifting from a literal destination to a symbolic one, representing humanity's eternal search for meaning beneath the surface of the known world and the modern age. Atlantis continues to drift between myth and meaning, its silhouette visible whenever humanity reflects on its relationship with power, nature, and memory. The legend survives not because it demands belief, but because it invites contemplation. Atlantis asks what it means to advance, what is lost in the pursuit of dominance, and whether civilizations are capable of learning from the past before repeating its mistakes. Beneath the waves of time, Atlantis becomes a story about impermanence, reminding us that even the greatest achievements are vulnerable to forces beyond control, whether natural or self-inflicted. The image of a magnificent city sinking into the sea resonates deeply because it mirrors human experience itself, where moments of brilliance can vanish suddenly, leaving only echoes behind. In this way, Atlantis belongs to everyone, transcending culture and era. It is retold through art, literature, film, and speculation, each version reflecting contemporary hopes and fears. Some see Atlantis as a lost technological utopia, others as a moral parable, and still others as a poetic expression of humanity's nostalgia for an imagined past. The truth may lie not in uncovering ruins beneath the ocean, but in understanding why the story continues to matter. Atlantis survives because it reminds humanity that balance is fragile, that progress demands restraint, and that memory carries responsibility. As the world faces its own environmental and technological challenges, the story of Atlantis feels increasingly relevant, not as prophy. The sea that swallowed Atlantis becomes a metaphor for time itself, endlessly moving, erasing details while preserving meaning. To fall asleep to the story of Atlantis is to drift alongside this current, allowing the mind to wander through marble halls and quiet canals, through triumph and collapse, without needing resolution. Atlantis does not ask to be found. It asks to be remembered. And so it remains, resting beneath the surface of thought, a submerged reminder that civilizations rise and fall, but stories endure, waiting patiently to be rediscovered by those willing to listen.